We all know the United Kingdom as a multicultural society, the good old country where people from all around the world can grow their own interests and family. And that sounds good and all, but how did we get there? Was it solely due to the British Empire and its former colonies, or are there other contributing factors? Today, I will take you through the history of immigration to the UK and how it became multicultural. In addition, we will explore upon historical events that could shape the future. Without further ado, let us begin. Our story begins in the 1800s. New technology and the revolutions are greeting the world. And most importantly, the British Empire now rules over a quarter of the world. And remember this will be important for later. And during the 1800s, the UK saw millions of immigrants arriving on the beach due to a booming economy from the Industrial Revolution. These were among the Irish people, who you might know suffered from their beloved potatoes, who suddenly started killing them. And we have the Germans, who saw the opportunities for work and an escape for political interests. In addition to immigration from a few other European countries, this period alone granted the UK over 3.5 million new citizens. And while entering the 1900s, we start to see a shift in why people are moving to the UK. During the Great War, 250,000 Belgians fled from the front lines. In addition, during the rise of anti-Semitism during the 1930s in Germany, many Jews thought it was smart to leave for a more peaceful option. This would also be a viable option for other Europeans during the World War II. And during the aftermath of the war, the UK were losing the grip on their colonies. This and the fact that the main island of Britain was completely destroyed gave a lot of the foundation for the British Nationality Act of 1948. And this act can be summarized by basically allowing all citizens of the former colonies to come over and work and live in the UK. And this applied to all the members of the Commonwealth that we know today. And if you don't know what the Commonwealth is, well, it is an association where most of the former colonies are members, including the UK. And this applied to around 800 million people, giving them the opportunity to migrate without visa and come over and help rebuild the UK and Europe after the war. An example where the Caribbean people were around 500,000 people migrated in the period from 1948 to 1970. These people were called the Windrush generation, which was named after the ship Empire Windrush that mass immigrated the first people from the Caribbean in 1948. After 40 years of free citizenship, the Act of 1948 was revised in 1981. Now the citizenship was separated in 3 different levels, which limited the access to the UK for the overseas British territories. Although limited Commonwealth immigration, there still were people who consistently moved during the 80s and 90s. Some people were from the Falklands Islands, who were an exception from the Nationality Act of 1981 after the Falklands War. And from this period and upwards, we can see a steady increase in immigration from both the EU and the non-EU. As conflicts are escalating in the world, even more people seek refuge in countries like the UK. And since the opening of immigration from Central Europe via the EU, the UK saw its peak of new Europeans arriving in 2015, like you can see here. And meanwhile, after the Brexit referendum in 2016, immigration from the EU saw a steady decline, until the final farewell to the European Union in 2020. The decrease in net migration was also steady in general leading up to the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. And this was a mix of both leaving the EU and something called the Windrush scandal. Do you remember the people from the Caribbean who helped rebuild the UK after the war? Well, it appeared that these people were illegal immigrants, as the papers from the times of Windrush either got lost or were not given to them in the first place. In addition, under the right-wing dominance of prime ministers during this period, a policy called the Hostile Environment Policy were implemented in 2012. In short, this made the life of those immigrants who were without documentation as hard as possible in hope that they would leave voluntarily. This was implemented because of the concerns regarding illegal immigration into the country, and had many people lose their jobs or even home, though they had been a citizen for several years. So this, combined with the ongoing Windrush scandal, caused a clear decline in net migration leading up to 2020. Although after the pandemic, we can now see a massive spike in the non-EU immigrants in the UK, leading up to today. And this is reason to the fact that the world is kind of falling apart. There is war in Ukraine, there is war in the Middle East, climate change is starting to take effect, making some of the countries of poverty a living hell, and the fact that the UK provide free healthcare for asylum seekers, in addition that they had a sudden shift of migration policy after the pandemic, made the UK very attractive for immigrants. And all of this is the reason for why so many people have opted to move to the UK. And in total, the population of 59.6 million people from England and Wales were disposed in this chart from the 2021 census. And that is excluding the white British. And what we see remain is 25.6 of the total population of Wales and England that are an ethnicity that aren't white British. And in this regard, I want to bring up my thesis. Is the former colonies of the British Empire responsible for the multiculturalism in the UK, or are there other reasons? And my answer to that question is, well, the Nationality Act of 1948 and the need for labour after World War II kind of started the whole arc of mass immigration to the UK. Although the government has attempted to restrict the immigration multiple times, we still have ended up with a nation that has one of the most attractive immigration opportunities in Europe. And many of the asylum seekers of today also have bonds with many of the immigrants from the colony era. And finally, the chart I also just showed you were made in 2021. And most of the sudden spike we saw of immigration today are events of which that happened after 2021. So today, most immigrants in the United Kingdom are probably not from the former colonies, but those who were from the former colonies kind of laid the foundation for multiculturalism in the UK. And with that, I want to say thank you for watching, and please leave a like if you liked the video, and have a good day.